Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Empowerment and Illness. I am your host, Gwen, and today I have a special guest, really good friend of mine, Mr. DJ. What's up?
What's going on, Miss Gwen? How you doing?
Awesome.
I
I'm
know
glad
that's right.
I'm glad you joined me today.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
So, I would like for you to take us on a journey and talk to us about your chronic illness, how it shaped your life and made you who you are today.
Absolutely. Well, before I start there, let me just say how incredibly proud I am of you and your podcast. Kudos to you and your listeners. It has been a wonderful experience getting to know some things that I didn't previously know about you and your diagnosis. And in meeting you, there were some things you shared and a lot that you did. So it's been really eye-opening to learn as much as I have. So kudos to you. So I just want to put that out there before I get started. But
you know how hard that has been.
I know. So, and I was, and even now as I listen, I'm still kind of sitting on the edge of my seat. It's almost like a thriller, because every time I listen, it's something new that I learned before. But it has inspired me to, take this leap of faith, because typically when it comes to your health diagnosis, for me particularly, I'm very private, so it's a lot of things that I don't necessarily share. But as you mentioned earlier in a previous conversation, it does become therapy for you in some regard, and then it opens you up to a support system that you may have never had before, just by mentioning some things, and people may provide some perspective for you on what you're dealing with. So
It's been a good journey for me. I actually like it because I do get to talk about it. And before, I did hide a lot.
Right.
Because when you're in the workplace, they don't let you talk, or you shouldn't talk. And then when you find out,
that's right,
they treat you different. So it's good that I'm here doing this. And I mean, if the folks that I work with, if they find out, I don't care right now.
And I would say same. We work in fields that sometimes requires you to separate yourself and your personal life from those that you are serving, and that's definitely holds true for me. But one of the things I've done, my diagnosis has forced me to some extent to kind of bring in some key persons that are around me on a day-to-day basis, because you may have a medical emergency, things may happen, and you may need someone to get you help when you need help. So being private doesn't really serve to my advantage. It really serves to a disadvantage. And what I've learned is that there's a better way, or a more excellent way, to bring people in without giving them too much information, but just enough to know that, hey, if something is off, or if you notice this or that, or if I'm not responding, or whatever it is, this is what I need you to do. And, that's enough, to feel comfortable enough working with others and being able to rely on them, because, we spend 8+ hours a day with folks. So God forbid something happens in the workplace, I need to get help. So
yes, we do need people around. You got to have a good support system. Even if you are, taking care of someone, like they're taking care of you at work, like you just said, or you got a neighbor or somebody you met online. All of that helps.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because one of the things you asked me earlier, we kind of got off a little bit on a tangent, but you were asking me about my journey and how did I come into this whole, I guess, I'm going to call it a system of other folks with chronic illnesses. And I think for me, it started earlier in my 20s. I was diagnosed very early on with type 2 diabetes. It was something that ran in my family as it relates to my great grandmother having it. And that was the only person that I could identify that I knew at the time that was a diabetic. But then a little later on in life, I developed high blood pressure, and that has been something that has been extremely hard to manage. I've been able to reverse the type 2 diabetes by a more healthier lifestyle, just reducing some things out of my day-to-day diet, exercising, and you'd be surprised how just making some minor tweaks to your day-to-day life can, serve as a benefit for you in reversing some of these chronic illnesses. But the blood pressure itself has been the thing that it's taken me down through there. It's giving me a hard time.
So what were some of the initial symptoms?
Well, some of the initial symptoms, always thirsty, just my body feeling off. And it's been probably, I'd say about over 15 years, over 17 years probably, since I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. But just the most symptoms that you would see, I believe I was going to the bathroom a lot, just really thirsty a lot, and just my body was just feeling off. And so that prompted me to go get checked out. And of course, after running some blood work, they found out that I was, a diabetic type 2. Now, to my own admission, I'll just be honest, being diagnosed at an early age, I'm in undergrad, I'm having the time of my life. I didn't really have time for that. I thought I was really invincible, to be honest with you. And while I did take my medicines, at the time I was prescribed metformin, but it was a regular metformin. And it really caused me to, I just started working, getting my first professional job, working for local government. And I just went through a lot of changes. Like my body was it was putting me through. I was having to take a lot of sick days. I was, profusely sweating all the time. I was just my body was just registering something is wrong. And I remember one day in particular, they had to even call 911 to even, get the medics out, because I just was almost spaced out, not really understanding what was going on. And it was just because the diabetes and not really, I guess, doing what I needed to do to take care of myself was really wreaking havoc on my body at the time. So,
yeah, when I was going through the stuff that I went through, it was a relief to get my diagnosis because I'd been sick for so long. Mm-hmm. So was it relief for you, or were you shocked when you found out that you had it? And how did you handle getting the news that you had type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure?
Well, I was really afraid at the time because I thought what was coming next was insulin. And I know that was one of the things that I wanted to avoid at all costs. There's just the idea of having to get up and administer, a shot every day is something that I watched my great grandmother do, having to really monitor what she eats, and how it affected her day-to-day life, even though she was much older. I was younger, it just happened to be at a pivotal time in my life between transitioning from undergrad into the workforce. So I think there was some sense of denial there as well, because there were days that, even after taking the medicine, or not taking it for a little bit, that I felt fine, or so I thought, but it wasn't until I started taking the medicine. And then if anyone knows about the side effects of metformin, one of them is, it makes you go to the restroom quite frequently. So it made it very difficult for me to do the job that I was doing at the time, local government, and be on my medicine, because it was just, I couldn't sustain a normal quality of life, having to constantly be away from my desk because I needed to be in the restroom, and not really wanting to explain that to, my leaders at the time, because I was, again, so private about my diagnosis that it really created a lot of issues, and it was just me having to go back to my primary care physician and just say, hey, listen, you're going to have to switch me to something else in terms of my medicine so that I can live a normal life, because it's affecting my work. And so he prescribed metformin again, but this time is when I found out a few years later about the extended relief version of that, which has really been a game changer, and it really significantly reduces the amount of restroom breaks you have to take for the end of the day, so I could kind of do what I needed to do. So,
okay, so you grew up with it, so your family relationship and your friends, you didn't have to go and explain a whole lot to anybody, right?
Well, I hid it. I literally hid it from everyone. And growing up in a house where I was raised by my grandmother and my mom, both of them worked in healthcare. My grandmother was a nurse for, over 55 years. So I could only hide so much because, she's always constantly scanning you. She's always looking. Always.
Yep.
So even though I was hiding it, there were things that she would say, or she would ask me questions, and I just would, I wouldn't answer them. More particularly when I had to move back home a few years later after my diagnosis, and I just really ignored it. I really didn't bring many people into that part of my life, including my friends. And believe it or not, some of my friends that I've had since undergrad that we're still relatively very close, it wasn't until probably 2 to 3 weeks ago that I even shared with them my diagnosis. And that's been since about 2000 and I'd say 4 or 5. So
wow.
The very first time that I've even spoken to anyone about it, really.
So I don't feel so bad then.
No, you shouldn't feel bad. No.
Well, no, what I'm saying is my family and my friends knew. Well, because, I lost a lot of friends. They thought I had leprosy. But for you to hide it, is it because you thought they would treat you different? Or
Well, it wasn't that I thought that they would treat me different. It's just the dynamics of, I think, how I've been raised, which I figured out that part of why I was so private, I guess, growing up. I just realized why that was. I think that was probably a survival mechanism for me, for whatever reason at the time. And so even in my adult life, there's still things that I don't discuss and disclose, particularly with family, just because you know how it is. Your family, they love you, they care about you, but sometimes they can be a little loose-lipped. And, they're talking to the ladies at church who happen to know you and love you. And something comes up in conversation. Oh, my grandson, this or that, or my son is dealing. So I wanted to not have to go through that, because I felt that I was constantly having to invite people into a part of my life that I didn't invite them into. And so that's why I remained kind of quiet and secretive about that.
Okay, that makes sense. So what are some of your biggest challenges that you face in managing your illnesses?
So diabetes I've been able to somewhat regulate that a little bit. I'm still definitely, like I like to say, on the spectrum for sure. I'm definitely within the range of being type 2 diabetic, but it's at the lower end. So I'm very fortunate about that. And I think it's just been since a lifestyle change back in 2000 and probably, I'd say maybe 17 or 18, somewhere up in there. I happened to watch a documentary called What the Health. And I don't know if you've ever seen that on Netflix, but just watching that, it opens you up and gives you better perspective of, the types of foods that we're eating and how that affects your body and how things are not good for you, and, how long-term enjoyment of some of these foods leads to some of these chronic illnesses that millions of Americans are facing right now. So at the time, I was about 400 pounds. I'm not going to say about, I actually was 400 pounds. I was huge. And so making that lifestyle change, from that day, I just went cold turkey. I cut out eating meat, a lot of processed foods, and over I'd say about a year and some change, I'd probably say about 2 years. I lost about 200 and something plus pounds. And even with coming down on my weight, it improved a lot of my lab work.
Yep.
So I was able to get rid of the diabetes at the time. But then again, I was working in the public school system, having to move back home for a few years. And so teaching elementary school, you have to walk your students everywhere they go. So walking around campus all day, multiple times a day, up and down stairs, really contributed to me being able to get the exercises and the steps in that I needed within a day to kind of regulate my health. But then aside from that, just I guess I had to change my view on food, especially bad foods. And so what I did was I stopped eating to be full and I started eating to be satisfied. So that means taking a couple bites of your food, healthier food options, and all of that really served as a benefit for me.
I need some of that.
Well, you eat relatively healthy.
I do. But, because, I love salads. I can eat a salad every day.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that I'm a stress eater. When I'm stressed, I want candy or cookies.
Okay, so let's
You know
stop
that.
right here.
I mean, that.
Are you still eating miniature Snickers? That's what I want to
No,
know.
that's just it. What I've been doing lately, because I did a podcast on food and and having a healthy gut,
Right.
and just researching that, and I'm like, wow, like I need to make some changes. So I try not to eat candy like that.
Right.
But every now and then, I want a chocolate chip cookie. Like right now, I was sitting there thinking, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go to Jason's Deli and get a chocolate chip cookie.
Don't do it, ma'am. But it's funny you say that, because one of the things I used to eat, or I used to crave a lot of, and maybe that's one of the things that I forgot, I craved a lot of sweets. So a lot of cookies, cakes, and pies and sweet stuff, it's like I couldn't have enough of that stuff, when I got diagnosed. So that was one of the things that I noticed as well, me just craving a lot of sugary, bad foods. But once I made that lifestyle change, I wasn't eating all that stuff. So, and even now, as I get older, I'm a man of a certain age. I'm in my 40s now. And so one of the things I've noticed is even my taste buds and what I'm interested in has completely changed as it relates to food. I just don't like sweets anymore. And then when I was able to shake the desserts, I couldn't let juice go. And so then I started diluting my juice, thinking that was going to help. And it did a little bit. But, eventually now I'm to a point where the thing I didn't like, I can't get enough of, which is water. With a little lemon and a little lime, and chef's kiss.
See, and I'm not a big water drinker.
Me either. But I drink spring water, put a little lemon and a little lime in it, and I force myself to drink so much of it a day. And as a matter of fact, I don't even allow myself. It's probably been upwards of about, I'd say 4 months now. I have not even purchased any juice to bring in my house at all. I just don't even buy it.
Yeah, that's the best way, because the minute you put something inside, it's over.
Yeah, it's absolutely over. So,
yeah, what I said earlier about being a stress eater, something can go on, and I don't know, just life. And right. I try to calm down, listen to music, and handle stuff that way, because music is my thing.
That's right.
But then every now and then, that chocolate chip cookie is calling
your name, and out of all places, Jason's Deli. Come on now.
Come on now. You know that. That's my place, and I go on it.
That's right. But let me ask you this. I know there was, during the summer times, I believe you would do about a week or so of a watermelon diet. Are you still doing that?
No. I eat watermelon a little bit, but not like no.
Because you were losing weight and getting fit. We were walking and
this last time I went on this diet, I don't want to use the name of the place, but I went there and they gave me some supplements and stuff to do, and I ended up losing 20 pounds.
Okay.
But it made me have a flare up. I was sick the entire time, and I kept wondering, like, okay, what's going on? The minute I stopped the diet, taking those supplements, I felt better. I got better. Wow. But I did lose 20 pounds. I probably starving myself or whatever. But then I was okay until one day at work, I saw a chocolate chip cookie.
And that was it.
And, it had been around. And I sent
you were looking at it. It was looking at you.
Not just that. I took a photo. I took a picture of it, and I sent it to my husband, right? And I'm like, the devil is calling me.
The devil on my trail again.
And he said, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. And I didn't. But then they had somebody ordered Tiff's treats. It was over.
You know what? I remember how you liked Tiff.
It was over. And I told the girl, and I said, why did you do this? And I'm like, there's absolutely no way that I can have some Tiff's treats coming in this building.
And I'm gonna make it out of here. That's right. Because just like Delarice said, I got my mouth all set for some tip treat.
Right.
I'm ready to go all in.
I was so mad at them. And then I took it and I was just, you know how the hallelujah chorus goes on, like, oh.
Oh yeah. You was in there then. Yeah, you were in there. But
I
you
was
know
so
what I
mad.
used to do when I first kind of transitioned over from trying to eliminate some of that stuff, I didn't deny myself having some sweets from time to time, but what I would do is I initially started and I would only allow myself to take, like if I wanted a donut, I would go to, let's say, Dunkin' Donuts or I shouldn't say a name, but I just go to a donut shop, we'll just say that, and I would get a glazed donut, and I would only allow myself to take one bite of it, and then I would immediately throw it away. And then from there, what I would start doing, and it's probably a little unpleasant to say, but I would usually take a bite, chew it, and then, spit it out in a napkin and discard of it until I wean myself off of wanting the sweets like that. And that's what worked for me, at least.
Now, I've done it before. I've been off sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I know I went at least a year to where I didn't touch it at all. No cakes, no cake. Well, I don't really eat cake.
Right.
But no candy and, no cookies. And I made a point to do that. But I guess I need to just go back to doing that. And I don't deny myself. In fact, I used to put candy in front of me so that I'll know. I got that from Whoopi. She said when she stopped smoking, she would put cigarettes around her so that she would get used to it, and then the craving went away. So I tried it, and it worked. But now, like I said, when we get off this phone, I may go to Jason Deli.
And the sad thing about it is Jason Deli has to drive through now, so you don't even have to do the walk of shame. Just going through.
Trust me, been there, done that.
Oh yeah. And one of the other things that, a little later on in life I got diagnosed with, and it really was, I think, a bit worse than the diabetes, was the hyperactive thyroid. That one was a huge game changer for me because it started forcing me to lose weight because I would always sweat profusely. I would get overheated very quickly. So I was a little limited on what I could do, but it made me feel horrible, but there was some benefit to it because it was forcing me to lose weight because I was sweating so bad. So, being in the midst of changing my diet up and then having the overactive thyroid happen, and really not really knowing what much to do about that, because once I was put on medicine, I found out that I had an allergy. It caused an allergy to flare up. And if not taken with a allergy pill, I would have I would break out in hives until I had to eventually say to my doctor, well, listen, there's something else you can give me. And he didn't want to change my medicine at the time because he thought that was the best, route for me and where I was with my diagnosis. But I had concern because over a long period of time, what happens if this medicine, gets so bad, even with the allergy pill, that it closes my throat up or anything happens.
Right.
And that's what eventually happened. It didn't close my throat up, but it started manifesting itself where I would get these, it's almost like, I had it one time when I was working at this company, this manufacturing company I used to work for, and one day I noticed, being off the meds for a while and taking a natural supplement, when I ran out of that supplement, I put myself back on the pills, and then it just, broke me off with a small circle of blisters, and it was just progressively getting worse. It was just almost like I had a chicken pox or something, all from the medicine. So, with that, I'm happy to say now that I've been able to completely reverse my overactive thyroid by using a natural sea moss supplement that has 3 ingredients in it. That's been an absolute game changer for me. And I think I told you about it some time ago. And I'm
remember
now.
Yeah, but remember, I told you it didn't work for me.
And I understand that now, because when you have so many chronic illnesses and you have all this medicine, that stuff can throw you off a little bit.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, and it's working perfectly for everybody. But when I try it, I mean, no, it was no. And I'm like,
and I used to try.
What me?
Because I used to always ask, well, why can't you take your medicine and then, take it a little bit later? And I understood when you kept saying, well, no, I can't do that with the kind of medicine. I mean, now I understand. I can't do it with, the kind of medicine I'm on. And it's posing a little bit of a problem for me, only because I can't seem to manage my high blood pressure. It's really been out of whack here lately. But trying to find a routine schedule of taking my medicines, what I'm supposed to, but in between that time, taking the natural supplements to give my body a chance to process what I'm putting in it. I was taking everything all at one time, and I didn't have enough sense to know that you're not supposed to take all that medicine at the time.
Yeah, you can't do that. You basically have to take medication or supplements like during the day, like a period. You just got to set timers and trying to figure out what works with this one. Like calcium, if you're taking calcium pills, you can't take it with magnesium. No one said anything. When you go to the store and buy vitamins, you just buy, right?
Yeah.
Because you heard somebody say you need this vitamin because your nutrients are deficit, so you'll do it. But no one says you need to take this at this time and it can't be taken with this medication.
Absolutely.
Or it can't be taken. Maybe that's a podcast I need to do.
I think it would be helpful because a lot of people, especially if you're, ignorant like I was at the very beginning and just thinking, hey, well, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and when your body has an adverse effect because of you taking all of those medicines together, like I would wake up in the morning, you take your diabetes pill, you take your high blood pressure pill, and then I'm taking the supplements because beyond the CMOS, I've been finding some wonderful, wonderful benefits of like tiger tail, like mushroom supplements. And, it's really been helping. I can feel the effects of that, but I cannot take that stuff together because it does more damage than it does good. So I've been having to break it up.
This is the end of part 1, Thriving with Diabetes and Hypertension, DJ's Journey. We will continue part 2 next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode and possibly gained some wonderful gems along the way. Before we leave, I want to remind everyone of our segment I call Healing Heartbeats. It's where we allow ourselves 3 minutes each day to laugh, cry, scream, cuss, or sit in silence. This time is allotted for you to wallow in sorrow, feel the pain and depression. Whether you're dealing with mental or physical pain, your body doesn't know the difference. And after the 3 minutes, compartmentalize it and go back to living. This behavior is a rinse and repeat behavior to help us deal with depression. You must continue to walk in positivity when dealing with the chronic illness. Every day doesn't have to be a struggle. Some days it will be. Some days you'll need someone to lean on. Just remember, we're here and you're never alone. Thank you for joining me today on Empowerment in Illness. Stay empowered by staying informed and don't hesitate to reach out for support when you need it. Remember, you have the strength, the support, the heart to continue your journey. Be safe.